Rats. I was on New Cross Gate Station and it was late. Trains were being cancelled. There weren't many of us waiting. Some people had given up, gone back upstairs and looking for night buses. The lights from Sainsbury's were being switched off and I noticed some rats. They were coming out of a concrete ditch next to the platform and onto the platform itself. People said, that's what happens when people chuck their takeaways away. They end up in that ditch and the rats feed off it, and soon there were as many as 10 or even 20 rats all over platform 5, and some of them were bold enough to come right up to our feet as if our shoes were good to eat. And then this guy with coloured trousers standing next to me said he was starving, and I said, yeah, me too, though I'd just had a hummus wrap from the Beirut, and he was staring at the rats like he was jealous of them, that they had plenty to eat, and still no train came. And he groped inside his jacket and took out a kind of toasting fork, a long sort of spiky fork thing, and before anyone said anything, he speared one of the rats. The rest of us looked a bit startled, but kind of covered it up with shrugs and smiles, and then he knelt down and killed it with a little penknife. And then he took a flattened tin can thing out of another one of his pockets and laid it down on the platform and sort of filled it up with bits of stuff that I couldn't quite make out in the dark, but he lit it with a lighter and laid a kind of grill over the top of it and just as quickly and neatly put the rat on the top. He was roasting the rat on platform 5 of New Cross Gate Station. The little group of us standing there was sort of staring, and there was one guy saying over and over again, I don't believe this, and still no train came, and you could smell the rat cooking. I was wondering why he hadn't skinned it before he put it on the grill, but he had other plans, because after a while he used his fork to pull the rat off, and he laid it down on a paper plate he had pulled out of another pocket, and then he started to skin it. Just then we heard the train coming, and though I wanted to see whether he really was going to eat it, I was pretty keen to get home. I had an early start in the morning, and so I got on the train, and as it pulled out, I thought I saw him pick a bit of the rat up towards his mouth, and I can't say I'm 100% sure of it.
London Airport. Once my brother said, why don't we go to London Airport for your birthday treat? We could spend all day there, London Airport, looking at the planes. It would be great. Yeah, I said, it would be great. Mum said yes, so we took sandwiches and chocolate and drinks. I was really looking forward to it. When we got there, my brother found out that there was this bus that you could go on, a kind of trip round the runways so you could get right close up to the big jets. Great, really great. So he got the tickets and we got onto the bus, and as we were getting on, I said, Brian, I want a wee. So he goes, well, you can't now. This is the last bus today. It's just about to go. We won't get on another one. Brian, I want a wee. So he goes, look, you can't now. It'll wait. It's not that long a time to wait. So we got on. The bus started up and away we went. The driver starts going, we're coming to runway 4 now. If you look to your right, you can see 2 planes. I'm dying for a wee. I said, it'll go away, says my brother. I want a wee. I said, what's the matter? Said the man in front. He wants a wee, said my brother. Well, you can wait, can't you? Said the man. No. I said, well, don't do it here, will you, Sonny? He says, can we stop the bus? I said, don't be daft, says my brother. We're on the end of runway 4. You can't do a wee on the end of runway 4. And the bloke driving the bus goes, if you look out of your window, you can see a baggage truck. I'm going to wet myself. I said, my brother says, look, there's Concorde. Just think of something else, will you? I can't. I said, it's hurting. I've got to do it. I've got to do it. The bus went on. We saw more planes and more planes and more planes. You haven't wet yourself, have you? My brother says, no. More planes, more planes, more planes. Here goes, I said. Then the bus stopped. I rushed off the bus. I got to the toilet and everything was lovely once again. Wonderful. And then we went home. Mum said, did you have a good time, boys? And my brother said, it was great, really great. And how about you, she said to me. How was your birthday treat? All right. I said, all right. But I wanted a wee, and they wouldn't let me. And I cried.
A treasure trove of nonsense, beginning with Michael Rosen's Book of Nonsense. Splish. When I walk across the room, I hear a splash and a splish. There's something under the rug. I think it's a jellyfish. Rosie, Rosie. The dog told the cat told the queen. Rosie Rosie's birthday cake stuck in the washing machine. It sploshed it washed it, and Dad had a fit. Rosie Rosie's whipped it out and eaten every bit. Really? He had a little sticker and he had a little ticket. He took the little sticker and he stuck it to the ticket. Now he hasn't got a sticker and he hasn't got a ticket. He's got a bit of both, which he calls a little sticket. What? Help! 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 Nothing's right! I can't find my ears and my pants are too tight. There's a clock in my sock, there's a rose up my nose, there's an egg on my leg and there's a stink in the sink. Help, help, I've had enough. I can't find my eyes and the going's getting tough. There's bread in my bed, there's flies in my fries, there's a slug in the jug and there's a ghost on my toast. Help, help, I'm in a mess. Have you got my head? The cat says yes. The cat says yes. The donkey says no. And the hamster in the swimming pool says he doesn't know. Road. In the middle of the road. It's lonely. The cars go whistling by. I've got no one to talk to, apart from a passing fly. The noise from the traffic is awful. My ears are going to burst. I've been in some terrible places, but I know this is the worst. I remember being up a chimney. The fire was blazing bright. I remember being in a forest on a dark and stormy night. But here the traffic is roaring. I can't describe the stink. My eyes are weeping buckets. I can hardly hear myself think. I'm all alone and lonely, stuck in the middle of the road. I'm trying very hard to be brave. I'm a common or garden toad. Wrong. It's all gone wrong. The singer's lost her song. She's lost the key to her apple, and the bell has lost its bong. What should she do? The pickle's in a stew. She lost the switch to her orange, and the shine has lost its shoe. Fridge. Ah, there's nothing in the fridge. There's nothing in the fridge. Just 2 frozen peas and Uncle Joe's sneeze. There's nothing in the fridge. Nothing in the fridge. Diggity-doo. Diggity-doo. Diggity-doo, the train is late, what shall we do? Diggity-doo, diggity-doo, the train is late, what to do? Grandpa coughed and the wheels fell off. Diggity-doo, diggity-doo. Beans. Oh, it's bad out there. It's scary. It's weird. You thought it was hard, but it's worse than you feared. Next time they say it'll be cloudy. Do you know what that really means? Yes, of course it's going to rain, but it's going to rain baked beans. Millions and millions of beans are going to fall out of the sky, all over me and you. I promise you, this is no lie. The streets will be covered with beans, over houses and cars and vans. Your hair will be sticky with beans. There'll be beans all over your hands. Towers will drip with the juice. Houses will all disappear. It's going to be something that lasts for anything up to a year. Bulldozers will be called into action. They'll try to move the muck, but after just a few minutes, most of them will be stuck. People will go out with hoses, buckets, jugs and cups, and hundreds of hungry people will try to gobble it up. It'll take 10 years in all to clean up every little bean. So remember, next time you hear the word cloudy, you know what it will mean. Football. There's something I think should be said, and this is how it ought to be put. A football shouldn't be round. It should look like it sounds, like a foot. The long and amazing story of what happened when we went to the game last week. I was bored. They scored. We roared. Yes! If Dennis plays tennis and Rocky plays hockey and Rolf plays golf and Tess plays chess, and Marty does karate, and Ludo does judo, and Rose. And if Kim can swim, and Dee can ski, and Myrtle can hurdle, and Clint can sprint, and Kate can skate, and Mo can throw, and like I said, Rose, then who is there around who can play football? Footling around. A footle flop doodle, you can flap your flapper, you can flop your flopper, you can clap your clapper, you can clop your clopper. Footle flop doodle, you can foot your footle, you can fit your fiddle, you can dood your doodle, you can did your diddle. Footle flop doodle, footle flop doodle, footle flop doodle, footle flop doodle. Now, here are some limericks. A young man with wobbly eyes used to muddle his G's and his Y's. When he said guess, I guess he meant yes. And yugs was how he said guys. A man with an enormous nose used to put on fantastic shows. In his nose he'd squeeze a swarm of bees, a cabbage, and most of his toes. There was a young man with a pimple who said everything in life is simple. For weeks and weeks he sucked in his cheeks, and now his pimple's a dimple. A boy who told tales called Peter had news about a huge cheetah. What was it doing? He said it was chewing a medium-sized thin crust pizza. There was an old man from Wales who was always cutting his nails. The bits could be found in a pile on the ground, being eaten by giant snails. There was an old man from Crewe who wanted to know how to moo. He studied a cow to try and learn how, but all he could do was boo. Billy's bully boys. Ha ha! The people upstairs are making a horrible noise. We know who it is. It's Billy's bully boys. They come in late, they got hairy legs, they keep pet slugs and put custard on their eggs. They wear dirty jackets, they don't bother with shirts. On Sunday afternoons, they wear yellow skirts. Mr. Billy's bully boys like to spit and cough. I know what I'd like. I wish they'd clear off. The news. Here is the news. 2 incredible shoes. 2 incredible shoes. That's the news. When it rains, they walk down drains. They glow in the snow. They grizzle in a drizzle. They sneeze in a breeze. They get warm in a storm. They go soggy when it's foggy. They've even hissed in a mist. But, sad to say, there came a terrible frost. This is what happened. They got lost. That was the news. 2 incredible shoes. 2 incredible shoes. That was the news. Bleep. Wait for the bleep. Wait for the bleep. Bleeps on the phone. Bleep, bleep, bleep. Bleep on the freezer. Bleep on the monitor. Bleep on the crossing lights. Bleep on the computer. Wait for the bleep. Wait for the bleep. Bleeps on machines. Bleeps in my sleep. Get up. Get up, Joe. Get up, Eddie. The tea's in the teapot. The sausages are ready. Get up, Eddie. Get up, Joe. Eddie says yes. Joe says no. So, cover him up with cornflakes. Pour milk on his head. Put sugar in his ears and leave him in his bed. The dog. Floppy old Poppy and Whiskers Jim looked for the dog and couldn't find him. He was away on a trip to the stars, eating butter in a house on Mars. Polypropylene. I'm a mat on the floor, just by the door. I'm tough, I'm mean. I'm polypropylene. Polyprop, propylene. Propylene keeps it clean. Polypropylene. Go to bed. Go to bed, Lizzie. Go to bed, Jane. It's far too late. Don't be a pain. Jane's under the table. Lizzie's eating peas. Mum's in the bath. Dad's gonna sneeze. Go to bed, Jane. Go to bed, Lizzie. Jane's dozing off and Lizzie's too busy. Do you know what? Do you know what? Said Tiny Tony. I found my foot and it feels all bony. Do "Do you know what?" said Auntie Flo. "I think this lump is a bone in my toe." "Do you know what?" said Mrs. Jones. "But I think our feet are full of bones." Bips. "Look out! Look out! The bips are out!" They leer, they sneer, they put on nasty grins. They fight, they bite, they lick their sweaty chins. They mutter, they splutter, they show their greasy fangs. They grunt, they hunt, they go about in gangs. They yell, they smell, they wave their little flags, and they keep dead sheep in dirty little bags. Look out, the bips are out. Look out, the bips are out. Mary Ann. Little Mary Ann was really quite fantastic. She wasn't like her friends, because she was made of elastic. She'd roll herself up to become very small, then jump up and down and bounce like a ball. She'd tie her leg to the gate and make her other leg hop. The elastic would stretch and take her to the shop. She could leave a room and you wouldn't mind, but then you'd discover she had left her eyes behind. She might be upstairs eating jelly while you're downstairs, she'd tickle your belly. She could tie a hand to the table, this was a wicked trick, stretch out and let go, and give you a terrible flick. One day a man came to measure Mary Ann from foot to head and from hand to hand. With no further ado, the girl was fetched, and with a smile on her face, she stretched and stretched. She stretched and stretched, this amazing girl. She stretched and stretched right round the world. This made her so hot she began to smoke. There was a sudden snap, and she suddenly broke. Oh, it was a terrible shame that it was all so drastic. But that's what happens if you're made of elastic. More. Supermarket shopping, I can't stop stopping, I can't walk by. I buy. Everything on the shelf I want for myself. Everything I see I want for me. I'm going to hold up a sack. You can't hold me back. I want more. More's not enough. Give me more stuff. Crunch. Munch. The bus. I woke up this morning, went for a ride on the bus. A donkey got on and made a terrible fuss. She wanted some straw laid out on a seat. She wanted some grass laid under her feet. The driver said no and drove off quick. The donkey didn't like it and gave him a kick. Tag along. Little Johnny Tag Along wants a pat on the head. He does as he's told and gets a kick instead. Who am I? My face fell off my head and landed on the floor, wriggled about a while, then galloped out the door. It scared a cat in the yard. It ate some bread and jam. It fell into a puddle. Now I don't know who I am. Yum. I'm fierce. I'm strong. I'm enormous. Yum is my name. I like to go and watch tennis and gobble up the game. I often say to the players, please don't refuse. There's something I want very much. I want to eat your shoes. I'm not fussy about what I eat. I want to eat it all. I start with those delicious rackets, and finish with the ball. Something I don't understand, but it's nearly always the same. After I've eaten these things, they say it's the end of the game. Yesterday. The day before yesterday, I think I'll go to school. I think I'll take a walk in the local swimming pool. The TV's broken, so I think I'll watch the news. I'll be going out barefoot in my sister's shoes. I don't like her, so I call her my friend. When I leave, I'll start at the end. Clever cakes and other stories. The Raja's ears. Once, long ago in India, when there were kings called Rajas and people lived in fear of them, there was a Raja who had very big ears. They were so big, he wore his hat to hide them. All day and every day he wore his hat so that no one would know about his ears. Of course, one or two people did know about them, but they didn't say a word to anyone else about it. They could imagine what terrible things would happen to them if the Raja ever found out that they had been gossiping about him. The Raja was going to get married, and so he wanted to have his hair cut. He ordered a barber to come to the palace, and when he arrived, he sent all his servants and courtiers outside. Then he said to the barber, "Now listen here, young man. In a moment, I'm going to take my hat off. Then you will see that I have ears that are not small. No one in the whole country knows about my ears. If ever I hear that you've been talking about my ears, gossiping or telling tales, then I'll cut your head off. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Majesty," said the barber. The Raja took his hat off and the barber cut his hair. All the time he was cutting away with the scissors, he was trying not to look at the Raja's ears. But there they were, right in front of him, all the time, just where he was looking. So he said over and over again to himself, "I must not tell anyone about the Raja's ears. I must not tell anyone about the Raja's ears." And when he had finished, the Raja put his hat on and sent the barber off saying, "Remember what I said, young man?" "Yes, Your Majesty." "Not a word to anyone." And that's the way it was for the rest of the day. He didn't breathe a word about it to anyone at all. But all the time, the barber was thinking about it. At work the next day, when he was cutting other people's hair and chatting with a customer, he was thinking about it then. The customer says, "I don't suppose much happens to you here, does it? Day in, day out, cutting people's hair." Straight away, the thought of the Raja's big ears leapt into his mind. "Well, sir," he said, "the other day I was cutting the Raja's hair, and you won't believe it, but you know he's got enormous..." And he stopped himself. "What am I saying?" He thought, "I'll get my head cut off." "What's he got?" said the customer. "Enormous jewels on his rings," said the barber. "Whew. That was a close one," he said to himself. At home that night, his wife was changing her earrings, and he found himself saying, "Hey, those earrings look very nice on you, my dear." "Thank you," says his wife. "You don't think they're too small?" "Oh, they don't look too small on you, dear, but I tell you who they would look funny on. That's the Raja, because he's got really big ears." "What am I saying?" he said to himself. "I'll get my head cut off." "What's he got?" said his wife. "Oh, he's got really big earrings. Small ones would look funny on him." Whew. That was another close one, he thought. Outside in the yard, his children were playing, and he went out to call them in for bedtime. Two of them were pulling faces at each other, sticking their tongues out, pulling their ears. "Hey, don't do that," says the barber. "You look like the Raja." "Why do we look like the Raja?" says one. "Well, because he's got big..." "What am I saying?" the barber thought. "I'll get my head cut off. He's got big..." "Children," said the barber, "and they look like the Raja. You look like his children, so you look like the Raja." Whew. That was another close one. And so it went on all the next day. He was dying to tell someone. In the end, he had a plan. The next morning, instead of going straight to work, he went off to the woods. "I know what I'll do," he thought. "I'll tell a tree. I'll tell a tree that the Raja's got big ears, and that'll be that. It won't bother me anymore. I'll have told someone who can't tell anyone else. The Raja will never find out, and I'll feel a lot better." So the barber crept up to a great big tree in the woods. He looked behind him, looked to either side. He looked behind the tree and all round it. Then he stood up in front of it and said, "The Raja's got big ears." Oh, that felt so much better. It felt like a great load had been taken off his back, and off he went to work, happier than he had been for days. Later that day, a woodcutter came to the woods and chopped down the very same tree that the barber had talked to. The woodcutter sold the wood from the tree to a musical instrument maker, and the instrument maker made some drums called a tabla and a stringed instrument called a sitar. The instrument maker sold the tabla and the sitar to a band that was one of the best in the country. In fact, so good was this band that they were asked to play at the Raja's wedding. Yeah, everyone was there, all the Raja's relations, all his servants, servants, even the Raja's barber. What a day it was. There was a wonderful ceremony, followed by a great feast. And then came the dance, the musicians made ready, there was a hush, and then the music began. But of all surprising and awful things to happen, the sound coming out of the musical instruments wasn't a wedding dance, but a song. And the words of the song were, "The Raja's got big ears. Oh yes, the Raja's got big ears. Do you know what? I know what. The Raja's got big ears." "Stop! Stop! Stop!" shouted the Raja. "I heard that!" he roared. "I heard every word of that." The hundreds of wedding guests stood in silence. The thought of his barber sprang into the Raja's mind. Only the barber knew about his ears. Only the barber could have told anyone. "Barber!" bellowed the Raja. "Barber, where are you?" The barber stepped forward. "Yes, Your Majesty, I heard that song. You heard that song. You have disobeyed me. I told you not to tell a single person. And now everyone knows. But Your Majesty, I didn't tell a single person." "Oh, yes, you did. And tonight you lose your head." "But Your Majesty, I didn't tell a single person. I told a tree. That's not a person, is it?" The Raja stopped. A smile crept onto his face. He muttered to himself, I didn't tell a person. I told a tree. I didn't tell a person. I told a tree. The man's right. He didn't tell a single person. Oh, what am I making a fuss about? It's only ears. So what if I have got big ears? Some people have got big feet. Some people have got little noses. We're all different, and we always will be. And at that he pulled off his hat and said, "Friends and relations, the Raja's got big ears. Let the band play." The band played and everyone sang, "The Raja's got big ears. Oh yes, the Raja's got big ears. Do you know what? I know what. The Raja's got big ears." Well, with me today is Francesca Simon, author of, as you may know, the great Horrid Henry books. Look at that great big stack I've got there, Francesca, all owned by my son. You mentioned a notebook.
I do.
So let's have a little look what we've got in the way. So
this
you can show the camera. So we'll show that camera there. So we're looking at Francesca's notebook.
This is MM Sleepover. This is Moody Margaret Sleepover. So what I do with these notebooks, because I said that I don't, this is Howard Henry's Chores, all of these, and if there's a line through it, it means that I actually use this. So what I do with this is rather than having a neat outline, I just write down little ideas. So I think I've written Henry can't sleep, he's feeling hungry, no biscuits in the house. So it's not an outline of a story, it's just varying ideas.
And you've also asking yourself questions. You've got where bed?
Yeah.
Susan last left.
Is there a mouse intent?
And then you've got little extra notes here and scribbly out bits as well. So this is like you're treating words on a page as stuff that you...
Ghost stories. He starts knocking. So it's more because when I get ideas, when I'm thinking about a story, you have to have a notebook with you. So I always carry around some kind of notebook. So I have a little notebook, so if I'm on my way here and I get an idea, I can write it down in here and then I write it on the page. Because if I'm also writing a number of stories at the same time, I'll have a little page for each of them. So that was Moody Margaret's Sleepover Notes. Horrid Henry and the Nudie Foodie, which is Horrid Henry's food school is chosen as a healthy eating school, obviously inspired by Jamie Oliver, and making vegetables fun. So I write food fight, question mark. Does he sneak this? So I ask myself questions on it, and then I just make, so when I come to write the story, I have varying ideas. Horrid Henry rocks. A lot of these I will never use in the story. So it's just it's a way of keeping my notes in one place, but without saying it starts here, then this happens, then this happens.
And this notebook, are you mostly the only person who ever sees that?
I am. I've never shown this to anyone
right.
before.
So there we are. We're very lucky, folks.
But see, I mean, sometimes I type them out and then I write Horrid Henry's chicken, the goose that lays the golden egg.
Let's just show that one, because that's quite interesting, because you've typed it here. Can you see this? So Francesca's typed it there, but done scribbles over it. So you started off with a nice, clean, perfectly typed
and then ruined
page,
it.
and then scribble, 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 because that's your ideas flowing, isn't it?
Absolutely. And then, like, I've written Horrid Henry's hospital visit, question mark. Henry goes green. I never did that one. Moody Margaret's revenge. So I think I did that one. Horrid Henry's spy. Thinks the neighbor killed wife, question mark. Binoculars in garden. These are stories that never happened.
But each one is like a little germ of a story. I can hear the sort of seed of a story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, Horrid Henry at Scruffs. I did that one, so I've ticked it, which is, the neighborhood dog show. So, but I'll also, if I'm stuck, I'll have to write another book. There's 4 stories. I go back to this and I think, okay, could I combine Horrid Henry's April Fool with Horrid Henry's Twin Day? Maybe. It's sort of like doodling, really.
Doodling with words and ideas,
Doodling with
isn't it?
words and ideas, so I just shoved this in my Horrid Henry's Horrid Half Term, which I never did. Thought of Horrid Henry's Cookbook. I mean, so
There's
these
another 100 stories here,
there
Francesca.
are probably. And then I combine 2 notebooks, I glue them in. It's not very elegant, but
But that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah,
the more elegant it is, probably the less it would work.
It is, and I don't do it on particularly nice notebooks.
And this one is the one when you're on the move.
This is my on the move one. So, I'm thinking about, I'll get little bits of dialogue in my head and I write them down.
See things on a bus, see the way parents behaving on a bus.
Absolutely. Make little notes of things. If I'm in a museum and there's something, I'll make notes about that. If I'm, writing about the Norse world. Yeah. No fish oil in the lamps. Okay.
No
Fish oil in the lamps.
So in the labs or the lamps?
Lamps.
In the lamps. No fish oil.
Well, the Vikings used fish oil, I think, to light their houses. So I must have just got that.
That must have ponged.
Yep. So
Yeah.
just a little detail of that. And then I'll come home, and then if I'm being efficient, I'll get out my Viking notebook and I will add no fish oil in the lamps, and somewhere that may come into a story. So I often have like a page of description, little phrases that I like, because I'm not that great at writing description. I tend to write dialogue.
Wonderful. Francesca Simon, thanks ever so much indeed.
Thank you.
That's lovely that
Thank
you
you,
came
Michael.
and talked to us. Now, it would be great if you subscribed. That is, you become a subscriber. Look out for the subscribe button. What happens, you see, is that I make new vids every few months, and then I post them up 1 a week for a while. So if you subscribe, you get to see the new ones just as they come hot off the press. Now, it would be great if you subscribed. That is, you become a subscriber. Look out for the subscribe button. What happens, you see, is that I make new vids every few months, and then I post them up 1 a week. So if you subscribe, you get to see the new ones just as they come hot off the press.